Yo, what's going on, guys? Got a great one for you today. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, let us know where you're watching from. If you're on Facebook Live, give us a like and let us know where you're watching from. Helps us expand the reach. Remember, the reason I do these for free is so we can help more people. So help us do that by helping us deal with this algorithm, right? So we're going to dive into the perfect sales call. What 7 elements are necessary in a sales call in order for you to have the most fluent call possible, so this way you can hit all the right elements and you don't run into so many of the let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife, my partner, the bookkeeper. Price is too high. What do? I don't understand. Can you send me something? Do you have any testimonials? This is going to help you not run into so many of those things. Now, there's a lot of things you do in the sales call that we won't dive into today that have to deal with different things with handling certain situations in a sales call, using certain types of tonality and cadence in a sales call. We're not going to get into any of those things. I just want to give you the elements that if you can nail these 7 things, you will have one of the most optimal sales calls you've ever had in your entire life. Okay, so we'll dive into it, and I'm going to go ahead and share with you what they actually mean, okay? So if you have any questions, drop them below in the comments. I'll come back to this video and answer those questions, okay? Same thing if you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, either way. So number 1 is the introduction. Now, it's funny because when I say this is gonna, some of these things, when you guys watch this video, you might say like, yeah, I knew that. But what I wanna challenge you to do today is to watch this video, look at the 7 elements, and I'm going to help break those elements down in a way that odds are you've never actually interpret them to have been done before. Okay, so that's what I'm going to challenge you to do today, is to look at my point of view and the different angles we take that allow us to have the effective sales calls that we have. Okay, so that's what I'm going to challenge you to do today. So introduction. There's a couple components that you want to look at here with introduction, and the 2 are intro and outro expectations. Okay, so the intro and the outro expectations for the introduction, they set the precedent, the tone of the actual call right now, and they're also going to give your prospect the confidence of knowing what's going to happen at the end of the sales call. Okay? People fear what they don't know. And they already know that the whole goal of this call is to create some type of mutually beneficial outcome, which is you taking their credit card in order to solve a problem. They know that at the end of the call, that's the ideal situation. So they're going to feel typically a little bit kind of like the wall's up, a little bit of a barrier, because they know they're probably going to have to give you some money. Okay? So when you set the outro expectation, it allows them to know exactly what's going to happen at that stage of this conversation, aka the sales call, okay? And the intro is just to let them know how the call is actually going to go and be navigated, okay? So this way they have the right expectations there. Introduction isn't just saying, hey, we're going to go through a call, I'm going to ask you some questions, or hey, what's up? How's the weather outside? How's the weather over there? Oh yeah, your sports team's killing it too? Cool, ours is killing it too. Like whatever, that's silly, okay? That's real elementary sales stuff for building rapport, and you're not gonna do that anymore, okay? It's not necessary. And if you do it, it's gonna be one sentence and you're moving on. You're not gonna get lost in the weeds. People think that you have to build rapport in a way that you know them so well you could walk their dog and watch their kids. Like, that's not necessary. People are looking for a friend in business. They're not looking for another friend. If they were looking for that, they could swipe right, okay? You feel me? So let's get into this next thing here. Rapport, okay? So rapport is something that's happening throughout the entire call. This isn't at any, like necessarily any stage in the call, all right? So rapport is gonna be your tonality and your cadence. So tonality and cadence is like the hidden language that flies under the radar and speaks to the subconscious. Okay, that's what tonality and cadence is. It's so powerful in the form of like NLP, if you guys are familiar with that term, neuro-linguistic programming, if I can talk. This is referred to as a nonverbal cue. okay? The way that you speak, okay? Tonality and cadence is a nonverbal cue. So what we want to do here, and you only have verbal and nonverbal, right? So pretty powerful, and 70% of your influence in a sales call is nonverbal. So keep that in mind. It's pretty important stuff. We're not going to dive into that now, but just know it's very important. So when you're building rapport, the way this works in this modern day form, right? You guys got to understand, because if you're watching this video right now, guys, and you're saying to yourself, Rob, I know how to build rapport. I've been doing this game for 20 years. Here's the thing. Just because you've been doing the game for 20 years doesn't mean that you're building rapport in a way that leverages the new science that we have now, like understanding urology, okay? There's certain things that we're able to tap into now because science has just proven something to work, right? Rather than just like, well, I want them to know that they can call me anytime. Like, that's not necessary. That's not important, and that's going to crush your bandwidth, and it's not going to help you be able to do work in volume. Okay, and if you're a sales rep watching this, you want to bank commissions. I just lost my marker, guys, so amped up. You want to bank commissions, all right? If you're a business owner watching this, you want to crush 6-7 figure months. Okay, who cares about their sports team? They know they don't. They just want to know, can you solve this thing? So the way this works right now, this is going to be the same way that a DJ is able to get the entire room hyped up. Okay, so the way a DJ operates, and this is going to make sense, just follow me here on this story, but the way a DJ operates is people are typically like standing on the side of the room, okay? When a DJ comes in and starts playing music, it starts getting people kind of like feeling themselves, right? So whenever they start walking towards the middle of the dance floor, they start to kind of move a little bit. And then as the beat starts increasing, what ends up happening is the DJ gets to a point where it's gradually increasing the beats per minute, the heart rate. And then when the beat drops, what ends up happening is people actually lose control of their bodies to the rhythm because their heart rate reaches a certain beats per minute to where the DJ now has control of their body, basically. Okay, and you can Google this up, right? But that's how a DJ is able to get people to get completely lost in the music and the beat once the beat drops, because it pushes them over the fence, okay? He's able to control them, essentially, based on their heart rate. This is no different. So what you're looking for here is tonality and cadence, because what happens is, when you're able to do this properly, you're able to help better control the heart rate of the person you're talking to, allowing them to be able to think more logically, stay calm, make better decisions, have better judgments, and not have to leave all of their no's up to their emotion. Okay, it makes it a lot easier to get the deal because you're able to control their heart rate. Okay, you're able to help control that, especially when they get anxious and you're asking the hard questions, right? You need to be able to bring them back to logic thinking, be able to get their heart rate down. Yes, it's true, you sell when the emotion's high. Yes, it's true, emotion sells. But at the end of the day, you're able to better control that with this, tonality and cadence. And the reason why this is how you do rapport throughout the call is because if somebody feels comfortable with you, if somebody feels like, man, this person really gets me, I just feel so good around them, that's rapport. A lot of the time, the old school rapport building is stuck in knowing that you have to have all these commonalities, but really, people just need to feel good with you. People buy from people that better understand them, right? So there's a reason why, if you want to stay in a long-term relationship, right, get married and die together, things like that. Wow, that sounds a little gruesome. But anyway, and dying together and things like that, it's because they feel good with each other. They're not just doing it because they're attracted to their looks or attracted to like one surface level thing or another, right? They get each other. When people buy from you, that's what they're looking for. That's rapport building, okay? And by the way, have you seen this bracelet? My son made me this bracelet, and he loves watching my YouTube videos. So, son, if you're watching this, I'm wearing your bracelet right now. Good luck stuff. So anyway, number 3, seeing how I lost my marker, now we're going to red. And if you guys are getting value out of that, just go ahead and let me know below so I can know that everyone's following me here. I'm going to make sure that we're still live. Looks like I may have lost some connection. Okay, we're still good. Okay, so number 3, pain points. So yeah, if you guys are getting value out of this, let me know below in the comments, okay? I would love to hear y'all's feedback and what you're taking from this so far. I understand it's a super dense video in these 7 elements, but if you can nail these in a sales call, like I said, you're gonna have one of the most optimal calls you've ever experienced in your selling history, okay? So pain points. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is the majority of the time that they find a pain of their prospect when they're on a sales call, it's surface level. It's the first thing that they're feeling and thinking, okay? And a lot of the time, a sales rep feels like, well, I can check the box because I found the pain. But people don't buy on pain. They buy on the highest degree of pain, okay? There's a lot of things that pain me that I see happening in the world on a day-to-day basis, but I'm not injecting all of my resources to fix those things because they are not my top priority right now. Just because one thing isn't going as well in my business than something else doesn't mean I'm here to fix that thing today. There's other things I can fix right now that will create more immediate impact that I'm going to be focusing on. So those are the pains that you're trying to figure out. And you're going to ask certain questions, which we won't get into that so much right now. But what you want to find out is you'll have your surface level pains, which an example of this, if you're in digital marketing, would be like, I just want better leads. Okay, that's a surface level pain. If you're dealing with some, like you're a mindset coach and you're dealing with these people, this could be something along the lines of, yeah, I just feel like I'm all over the place and I'm not really giving enough time to everything. I'm waking up late. Those are surface level pains. If you're like, well, what would be a deeper level pain? Well, you're diving into how it's affecting the people around them. Okay? Because whenever you're driving motivation to solve something, it's typically you're going to have your best motivation from like, how is it affecting everything around you? Okay? So you want to go from surface level pain to a prioritized pain to the one with the most impact, okay? This is how you find the pains. So you go from allowing them to brain dump and figure out the surface level pains, right? So you're asking these specific questions to be able to drive out the surface level pain and then exhaust that, get all the surface level stuff out. Okay, anything else? Oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Tell me more about that. Is this all that there is, or are you noticing anything else? Right, so you want to exhaust all the surface level stuff so this way they go beyond what's top of mind and they can actually start to really think about the hard stuff. That's when you get into, okay, of all these things, what are you currently prioritizing? And then of those lists of priorities, what will create the most immediate impact today if you could find a resolution to it? So this is going to show you what their number one priority is that will create the most impact today. If you're selling an ROI offer, this is especially important, right? Because your goal is to make somebody their money back. That's the whole goal, right? So you want to be able to focus on the thing that can do that the fastest. And then you can start selling other stuff, the upsells, the cross sells, right? So that's going to be how you handle it, okay? Number 4. And if you guys have any questions and you're like, what the heck else should I be doing this sales call that I'm missing? Just shoot us an email. We can lend some advice. support@thesalesagency.com, okay? So number 4 is going to be urgency, okay? So these two things are going to happen throughout the call as well before you get to the diagnosis and the offer, okay, which we'll get into here in a sec. But these things are happening throughout the call. This is the only thing happening the entire call, okay? If you try to get into these two things right here, pain and urgency, after you make an offer or even after the diagnosis, you're typically going to shoot yourself in the foot, okay? Because at that point in the call, you're already 30, 40 minutes in, and the last thing you want to do when they feel like they're coming to some newfound clarity that you help them realize is to bring up more confusion. And now they have to think about it. That's whenever you're getting the things like, oh, I need to think about it. Can I check back in with you next week? Do you have any testimonials? I have to talk to my partner. Those types those types of objections typically happen whenever you do this thing where you try to find out too much of this because you missed it earlier in the call, and then you try to find it after the diagnosis or the offer, okay? Remember, a confused buyer always says no. So our goal here is to lean into the clarity. All right, if you add more confusion, you lost the sale. Now, there's ways we can revive that sale. We're not going to get into that today, but super important. So with your urgency, you want to figure out a couple things. But the easiest one to be able to gauge it, bandwidth and runway. All right, so here's the difference. When you're dealing with urgency, a lot of the time, they need to know how soon they want to get something done to accomplish X, right? And if they don't, what's going to happen? So bandwidth is how much longer, like how long can you sustain this? And that's one of the great questions to ask is how long can you sustain this? Another great question is runway, right? So what's your runway to fix this? The runway is how long they have before things implode or crash or just break or whatever. Or maybe they have to hit a certain revenue goal, right? Which means that if they don't accomplish something in X amount of months or days, that it's not going to work for them. Things are going to break, they're going to get demoted, like their business is going to collapse, like whatever that is, okay? Or let's say it's more of a non-tangible, where you're dealing with like mindset, weight loss, things like that. Maybe not weight loss in this scenario, but mindset and things like that, to where maybe your spouse won't go much longer. Like maybe they said, I can only deal with this for, a few more months or something. Or maybe your kid has a game or something, right? And you can't miss any more of those games. You don't figure this thing out and you miss that game, it's going to create a lot of resentment, which is a much harder scar to heal, right? So there's these other things that are happening and you're trying to figure that out in the runway. If it's an ROI offer, then it's numbers based, right? And there's some type of repercussion that'll happen either in their goals and achieving their goals if they're not in a place where things will collapse or things are going to collapse, right? So those are the things you want to consider finding out runway. Next, we're getting into number 5. I'll move these over here for you guys. This is when we're at diagnosis now. So the diagnosis is going to be a recap of everything you found out here. These are the key points, okay? You are not here to inject anything new, even if you know that it's something else that can help them. What you're here to do is to help them be able to embrace the newfound clarity, right? Because now they've been able to prioritize the things that will actually create impact and help them take the right action. Okay, a lot of the time people just know they have to do a lot and they try to do too much, and that's why nothing changes. Okay, what we need to do is help people understand what that first step needs to be to create momentum. Okay, this is how you become the expert for them, and this is how they buy again from you. Okay, is to make sure that you could help them take that first step that's actually going to create momentum. So you don't want to add additional things into the diagnosis after you go through the touch points of what you took notes on here, because you should be taking notes for the sales call. You just go over exactly what is happening with them. Okay? Number 6 is your offer. Now, during this, you're doing a couple things. You're going to get a temp check, right, and make sure that they're in a place where they trust you, they trust what you can do, the product or service, and they trust themselves. Okay? You need to make sure that all these things are aligning. So you do a temp check. There's a few ways to temp check. We're not going to get into all of that here today on this call, but if you do need help with that, just shoot us an email. See how we can lend some advice. support@thesalesagency.com. And also drop any comments below. I'll come back and check those out. Let me know how you guys are absorbing this here, right? I know it's pretty dense, so let me know below if you're getting any value out of this. Number 7 is where you collect. Now, this is an interesting step because a lot of people will miss maximizing that step. And what I mean by that is this is like a whole nother sales call within the sales call. Okay, collecting. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of the time people will be satisfied with collecting a payment plan. Okay, and there's a lot of different industries. I understand you're watching this. You're probably saying like, well, all of our payments are up front, or we do subscriptions, or I sell SaaS, or whatever. But the truth is, there's always ways to incentivize. I was even talking to I Go Tan at this place up the street, and they offer certain things to college students when they come in, and it's like a 3 or 4 month thing. And I was like, dude, they're only coming in X amount of times. What we need to do when they come in is offer them this payment plan, or we need to be able to incentivize them to pay it all in full now and give them X as an incentive bonus. Because if they're only going to use it X amount of times anyway, you're not getting the wear and tear, and you're getting more of the cash up front regardless. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant, right? And that's a tanning salon. Okay, these concepts work in any line of business. Doesn't matter what you're selling. That's why we have clients in so many industries that are able to use these concepts and crush. Okay, so you want to be able to do some, it was referred to as question stacking. Okay, so when you question stack inside of the collection, this is where you're able to go in and to be able to see, first offer the pay in full. They ask for a payment plan. You go look at those options, but first challenge them to show them why paying in full is actually a better benefit for them. Not just incentive-wise, but for their mental state. A lot of people will overlook that piece of it, okay? Because a lot of time when somebody's selling something, they're doing it so they can collect a credit card. They're not doing it in the best interest of their prospect, okay? But if you can truly help somebody, you want them to come in with a more committed mindset. So not challenge them to pay in full when they do have the cash in the bank or the credit available, and dealing with credit and OPM is a different part of this collection stack, which we're not going to get into right now. But it's important to make sure that you can maximize their commitment and rolling with your company by getting them to put more skin in the game, aka money. Okay, so it's not necessarily just for your bottom line as a company or for your commissions as a sales rep to collect more money up front. It's better for your prospect that's turning into a client. Okay, and then you're also setting proper expectations for onboarding. That's a part of this collection piece. So guys, I hope that was incredibly helpful. If you have any questions, I have a couple more minutes. You can drop those below in the comments and I can answer them for you. But these are the 7 elements to a super effective sales call that will give you the most optimal experience that you've ever had in your selling history by nailing these components. And if you got any value out of this, again, like the video, help us expand the reach so we can get more people to see this, help more people. That's why I do them for free, or I will stop doing them, right? If you guys can't at least give me that exchange, okay? Because we're just trying to help more people, so let's do that. Share this video with somebody that you feel like could really get some benefit out of it. But if we don't see any questions come through here in the next minute, I'm going to call this video. But if you're watching on YouTube, put the questions in the comments. I'll come back to them. And again, if you guys need any help from us, last thing before we jump off, email us, support@thesalesagency.com, with whatever question you have about what's going on in your current sales process or your sales team, and we'll be able to lend some advice. Okay? So great. Kick some ass this week, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.